What's up, football fans? Welcome back to my channel where I talk about anything and everything football related. Today we're going to recap some of the top commitments that have happened this past week in college football. Starting off the week, we had the Tar Heels landing yet another top talent out of North Carolina. Monday evening, we saw four-star defensive back Malcolm Ziglar announce his commitment to UNC. Malcolm Ziglar is a four-star safety out of Fuquay-Varina, North Carolina. He's currently ranked as the number 5 player in the state and the 17th overall safety according to 24/7 Sports Composite ranking. He's listed at 6'2", 200 pounds and reportedly runs a 4.38 40-yard dash. Ziglar chose to stay home and commit to UNC over schools like South Carolina and Notre Dame. He plays all over the field for the Bengals, logging snaps at cornerback, safety, running back, wide receiver, and even saw action in the return game. Last season, he came down with 6 interceptions, returning 3 of them for touchdowns, and made a ton of big plays at wide receiver as well. Ziglar is now the top-ranked commit in the Tar Heels 2024 recruiting class. He joins safeties like Tashawn White and Jalen Thompson, who also recently committed to North Carolina. On Tuesday, we saw the Sooners pick up one of the fastest kids in the country. 4-star wide receiver Zion Raggins announced he'll be committing to Oklahoma over schools like Florida State and Georgia. Raggins is a 4-star wide receiver out of Jones County, Georgia, and is the definition of a lightning in a bottle. He does it all for the Greyhounds, averaging over 11 yards anytime he touches the ball. Last season, he had over 550 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns, while also making an impact on the run game as well. During his 3 seasons, he's accumulated over 2,600 total yards and 22 touchdowns for the Greyhounds. He is also a state champion in the 100-meter and 200-meter dash, and ran a time of 10.37 in the 100-meter dash as a 9th grader. This is a great pickup for the Sooners, who were definitely looking to add wide receivers in this recruiting cycle. Raggins joins guys like Zion Kearney and Ivan Carrion, who are some of the top wide receivers in Texas. The Sooners also have weapons like Devon Mitchell, Dozie Uzakama, and KJ Daniels locked into their class too. They were able to bring in Jackson Arnold last class, who's the best quarterback prospect they've landed since Caleb Williams, and are now loading up on weapons for him to use. The Gators were able to flip one of the state's top recruits from the Florida State Seminoles on Tuesday. 4-star wide receiver Twaski Abrams announced he will be flipping his commitment from FSU to Florida. Despite being committed to Florida State since January, Abrams is a 5'11", 190-pound wideout for Dunbar High School and recorded 37 receptions for 427 yards and 5 touchdowns last season. He also made an impact in the run and return game for Dunbar High School. According to ESPN, Abrams is a top 30 wide receiver in the 2024 cycle and a top 35 recruit in the state of Florida. This now gives the Gators 3 wide receivers and bumps them back into the top 3 recruiting classes for the 2024 cycle. After notching a 10-win season, the Seminoles seem to have all the momentum in their corner, especially considering the down seasons Florida and Miami both had. So stealing a kid out of their class is a huge win for Billy Napier and his staff. Normally with the recruiting recap, I've only talked about commitments, but I want to talk about a pretty big decommitment that happened on Tuesday. 4-star safety Jalen Hayward announced he'd be backing off his commitment from Georgia and reopening his recruitment. Jalen is a 4-star safety out of Rockledge, Florida, and is one of the top 10 recruits in Florida according to 24/7 Sports Composite ranking. He committed to the Bulldogs back in January and was one of the first recruits to commit to this now number 1 overall recruiting class. But now with the Bulldogs stacking up at safety and considered the favorites to land 5-star KJ Bolden, I'm not too shocked to see Hayward reopen his recruitment. There's been a lot of smoke around Peyton Woodyard possibly reopening his recruitment too, as teams like USC and Alabama have been pushing very hard to flip the talented safety. With Hayward's departure, I think that becomes a lot less likely, but we will have to wait and see how that recruitment plays out. During his junior season, Hayward recorded 44 tackles, 8 pass breakups, and 2 picks, which he returned both for touchdowns. Since committing to Georgia, he also took official visits to Miami and UCF. Personally, I think the Golden Knights are definitely a team to keep an eye on, as they've been scorching on the recruiting trail as of late and are located less than an hour away from where Hayward grew up. The Tennessee Vols landed their best wide receiver recruit in school history Wednesday evening with the commitment of Mike Matthews. Mike Matthews is a 5-star wide receiver out of LaVerne, Georgia, and is ranked as high as the number 1 wide receiver in the 2024 cycle according to Rivals. He's currently listed at 6'1", 180 pounds, but has a 6'6" wingspan and plays a lot bigger than what he's listed as. This time last year, Matthews was actually considered to be one of the top safeties in this class and plays on both sides of the ball for Fairview High School. Tennessee's offense is a wide receiver's dream, stretching the field vertically and creating explosive plays game after game. If you turn on the tape, that's exactly the way Matthews likes to play. So it's not too shocking to see him pick the Vols over schools like USC, Clemson, and Georgia. He took official visits to all 4 of those schools this offseason, and for a second it looked like Clemson would be able to steal yet another elite talent from the state of Georgia. But in the end, it was the Vols that were able to land the talented wideout. Mike will join Tennessee's number 8 overall recruiting class and is the 3rd best recruit their football program has able to land in over a decade. Thursday evening, TCU added 3-star defensive lineman Sterlin Brooks to their 2024 recruiting class. Brooks is a 3-star defensive lineman out of North Crowley High School, which is less than 30 minutes away from TCU. He chose the Horned Frogs over schools like SMU, Baylor, and Houston. Sterlin's recruitment has really picked up over the past few months. He even said during his commitment this time last year, things weren't looking so shiny, and his recruitment was pretty much non-existent. He sat down with his head coach, Coach Gates, and he told him exactly what he needed to do to continue his football career at the collegiate level. This is actually the second commitment TCU has landed at a North Crowley High School, as 4-star athlete Julian Knox committed a little over a month ago. He now joins TCU's 54th ranked recruiting class that has been rather quiet since coming off the best season the school has ever had. Sticking with the theme of talented defensive linemen, we saw 4-star defensive tackle DeAndre Robinson announce his commitment to Texas. Robinson is a 4-star defensive tackle for Jones High School in Orlando, Florida, and is ranked as high as the number 11 defensive lineman in this cycle according to Rivals. He took official visits to schools like Florida, LSU, and Ohio State, while also going on unofficial visits to schools like Colorado, Kentucky, South Carolina, and more. This gives the Longhorns yet another talented recruit from Florida, joining guys like Cedric Baxter, Jarrett Gibson, Peyton Kirkland, and more. Texas now has the 20th overall recruiting class according to 24/7 Sports and has been climbing up those rankings a lot over the past few weeks. The Nittany Lions picked up one of the top athletes in the 2024 cycle on Friday with a commitment from Liam Andrews. Andrews is actually listed as high as the number 1 interior offensive lineman in this cycle, but announced during his commitment he will actually be focusing on the defensive side of the ball and wants to be labeled as a defensive lineman or at least an athlete from now on. On3 has Liam ranked as a top 75 recruit in the 2024 recruiting class and the number 2 recruit in his state. He chose Penn State over schools like Wisconsin and South Carolina. It isn't too common you see someone this big labeled as an athlete, but Liam definitely deserves that title. He plays all along the defensive line as well as offensive tackle for Dexter School and is a freak on both sides of the ball. But Penn State told Andrews they'll take him at whatever position he wants to pursue, which I imagine made picking Penn State a lot easier. Not long after landing Mike Matthews, the Tennessee Vols were back in the headlines landing another top recruit in the state of Tennessee. 4-star linebacker Edwin Spillman announced his commitment to Tennessee over the Ohio State Buckeyes. He plays at Linscomb Academy in Nashville, Tennessee alongside the number 1 recruit in the state and fellow Vol commit Caleb Beasley. He is also joining his brother Nate Spillman, who played for Linscomb Academy and committed to the Vols last recruiting cycle. He is currently listed at 6'2", 224 pounds and recorded 129 tackles, 14.5 tackles for a loss, and 2 interceptions last season. The Nashville native has played a big part in helping the Mustangs win back-to-back state titles. This gives the Vols 18 commitments in their number 8 overall recruiting class and is a pretty important get for a school that will be losing 2 starters at linebacker after this season. Less than 24 hours after adding one of the top athletes in the 2024 cycle, Penn State added another elite defensive lineman to their 2024 class with the commitment of T.A. Cunningham. Cunningham is a 4-star defensive lineman from Miami Central High School and is considered as one of the top defensive linemen in this cycle. According to Rivals, he's the 12th best defensive lineman in this class and a top 40 prospect in the state of Florida. Last season was a little complicated as T.A. actually transferred to Los Alamitos High School in California, thus having to sit out 5 of their games. As you can imagine, his stats didn't look too great, but as a sophomore, Cunningham played at Johns Creek High School in Georgia and recorded 66 tackles, 22 for a loss, and 7 sacks. He has since announced that he'll be playing for Miami Central High School, the 5th best team in the nation according to Max Preps, for his senior season. Penn State now has the 6th overall recruiting class in this cycle and have done a great job of beefing up their trenches. Cunningham becomes their 24th commitment already locked into this class. The Clemson Tigers once again flexed their recruiting muscles in the state of Texas, landing 4-star cornerback Corian Gipson. Dabo Swinney and the Tigers were able to beat out schools like Texas and Ohio State for Gibson's commitment. Gibson is one of the best cornerbacks in the state of Texas and is ranked as high as the 5th best cornerback in the cycle according to ESPN. He will be joining fellow Texans like Cade Klubnik, Noble Johnson, Andrew Mbuka, RJ Minkins, and more. He also joins 5-star wide receiver and Dallas, Texas native Bryant Wesco in what is shaping up to be a very good-looking class for the Tigers. This now gives the Tigers 5 of the top 100 recruits in the 2024 cycle. They sit at 11th overall in the class rankings according to 24/7 Sports with only 17 commitments. I would not be shocked if you see this class crack the top 10 by signing day. And they said Brian Kelly wouldn't be able to recruit in Louisiana. In a somewhat surprising fashion, the LSU Tigers were able to keep yet another elite talent in state with the commitment of Tylen Singleton Saturday evening. Tylen Singleton is a 4-star linebacker or safety depending on what site you're looking at, but no matter what site you're looking at, he's a top player in Louisiana. According to 24/7 Sports composite ranking, he's the number 10 linebacker in this class and a top 5 recruit in the state. This now gives LSU 4 of the top 5 recruits in Louisiana and 5 of the top 8. Last season, Singleton made plays all over the field for Maney High School and helped them to a 2A state title. He He holds offers from over 30 schools and took official visits to Texas A&M and Arkansas before making his decision. While he has taken unofficial visits before, Singleton hadn't used one of his official visits on LSU before making his commitment, which was why this was somewhat of a surprising commitment in my opinion. After his commitment, Tylen said that everyone dreams about playing for LSU if you're from Louisiana, and that Brian Kelly did a lot of crazy things in year one, and thinks they'll continue to trend in the right direction under his watch. This now boosts LSU into the top 15 recruiting classes for the 2024 cycle. They're also still hot on the trail for Texas athletes like Jelani Watkins and Ori Williams. If they're able to land those guys, the Tigers would be looking at yet another top 10 recruiting class after finishing 6th overall in the 2023 cycle. The SMU Mustangs landed one of their best commitments in school history Sunday evening. 4-star defensive back Dotson announced he will be committing to SMU over schools like LSU, Texas, TCU, and Oklahoma State. Dotson plays for Texas powerhouse Duncanville High School, which is just a 30-minute drive away from SMU's campus. He is currently ranked as the number 17 safety in this cycle and a top 50 recruit in the state of Texas according to Rivals. This becomes the Mustangs' 5th highest rated recruit to ever commit to SMU and joins a slew of other Dallas natives in their 2024 class. Dotson actually took his official visit to SMU with fellow Duncanville teammate and 5-star edge rusher Colin Simmons. Just like I said when Alex January committed to Texas, this could be a big deal as they now have someone in Simmons' ear every day pushing for SMU. Regardless, SMU still landed somebody that will more than likely be able to come in and find a way to make an impact in this secondary early on in his career. And that'll do it for this week's recruiting recap. Leave a comment on what teams you want me to cover more of, and if you're a football addict like I am, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more football related content. You can catch some of my other videos right here, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Until then, peace.